It's another week of Future Quake, and we're doing something different this week. What do we call it this week?
We're calling it Dim Sum Week.
Dim Sum. And
Yeah.
Dim Sum is an Oriental restaurant in which you get a little bit of a whole lot of stuff on your plate, right?
Yes. Well, the idea is somebody comes by with a cart with food that's about appetizer size, like two little pork buns or chicken feet or,
Chicken feet.
Oh, yeah. You've never had chicken feet?
Oh, now you're making me hungry.
No. Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say now you're making it up. I'm not making it up. I've had chicken feet.
Oh, really?
Yes. It's not bad.
Well, so dim sum is basically a potpourri of different kind of flavors, and that's what we're doing this week. We're having a number of shows this week, and we're going to have something special today. Stick around tomorrow. We're going to have the vice presidential candidate of the Constitution Party joining us.
He'll be on.
And then we're going to have Christian Action Against Apathy. It's going to be the last 2 days, followed by our news at the end of the week.
It's going to be, I'm looking forward to this week.
But we have a special topic for today. It's something that some of our regular listeners may already be familiar with, and if so, we ask you just to oblige the rest of us. We're going to bring some new listeners up to speed on something that they should know about, and it has a very personal touch, and it relates to something our own Tom Bionic got to know up close and personal.
Oh,
and that is what particular location? What is it we're talking about?
Well, we are talking about the Bohemian Grove.
The Bohemian Grove,
yes,
which is a sort of like a campground retreat thing run by something called the Bohemian Club. Since our time's a wasting, can you explain for our listeners, those
let me
who
just jump in there,
about what is the Bohemian Club, what's its purpose, and what and why did it create Bohemian Grove?
Well, the Bohemian Club, it's a prominent private club in San Francisco, California. It's Clubhouse, actually, if you ever wanted to go by there and drive by there, check it out. It's at 624 Taylor Street there in San Francisco. Today, the club has a diverse...
And if you're going, put some flowers in your hair.
That's true, but that's just to San Francisco, not to the Bohemian Club.
San Francisco, okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
And interestingly, a lot of people don't pick up on this, but if you want to try, having grown up on the West Coast, if you want to check it out, you can go to the Bohemian Club, drive by there, and notice... what is the name of it? Bert's Owl Tree Bar is right across the street, and supposedly they're owned by the same group of folks.
Really, and they also happen to have the owl symbol. This is their mysterious, intriguing symbol. That's part of it.
Yep.
Okay.
The club was founded in 1872, and it was modeled kind of on New York's prominent Century Club. The club was originally formed exclusively by and for journalists who lamented the lack of art and culture in post-Gold Rush San Francisco. Basically, they wanted to capture the idea of the kind of the avant-garde movement that had been going on and very big at that time in New York and other places. And as as an artist myself, you realize very quickly that when you make a club of all artists and journalists, what you need is to get somebody who has a lot of money. Right. So they loosened the rules for membership and permitted people to join who had little to no artistic talent, but had major financial resources.
That's why I brought you on board the Future Quake Show.
For the large financial resources?
Yes.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but...
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Proceed.
Anyway, so as these things often happen, the membership list, the membership rules were relaxed, but pretty soon the Bohemian riders were sort of pushed out or marginalized, and the wealthy sort of came in control of the club. The membership lists are private, although we do have the membership lists.
They get smuggled out.
Yeah. Well, we might of the Grove, Bohemian Grove. I don't have the Bohemian Club lists.
Okay. There is a YouTube video of somebody who snuck into a Bohemian Club.
Yeah.
And hurriedly took a little camera. And it's a very, to me, a creepy place from what you see there.
Owls, people dressed in robes.
Yeah.
I mean, pictures of people dressed in robes, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the wealthy and powerful of the world are now affiliated with it, correct?
Yeah, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that here in a minute.
Okay.
The list of people who are involved are huge. They include presidents, cabinet members, CEOs of large corporations, major financial institution presidents, major military contractors, oil company CEOs,
media giants,
which is very weird, I think. all the Greenspan has been a member since 1984, which is far out because he ran the Federal Reserve for 14 years.
Right, and other bankers.
Yeah. Also members of major utility companies, national media, as we said,
universities.
Yep, and of course there are a requisite number of artists and lovers of art and musicians and people that they still have attend.
Very many of our guests on there. You see like a Tom Horn on there, or
you don't see too many of them.
Mike Shedlock.
You don't see Mike Shedlock. Okay. In fact, they might, do some bad things to any of those guys. I would guess.
All right.
Don't want to put words in their mouth.
So they formed a little campground.
Yeah, it's sort of a club, the Bohemian Club. It's a club for the rich and wealthy. But unlike many of these other sort of clubs, they formed a campground, and they do some weird stuff there. They do some really weird stuff.
Okay, and that's called the Bohemian Grove.
Yes, Bohemian Grove. But I did some background research into who all is involved in the Bohemian.
Well, tell us.
Yeah,
tell us who has been documented.
The people documented going to either the Bohemian Club, or going to the Grove, which is sort of a more exclusive of the two, I think. It contains every president since Calvin Coolidge. That's Coolidge, Hoover, Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Nixon, Kennedy, Johnson, Ford, not Rockefeller. He was vice president.
Yeah, Freudian slip. Yeah.
Jimmy Carter, Reagan, Bush 1, Bush 2, and Clinton. They've all went to the Bohemian Grove at one time or another, oftentimes before they were president.
And while they were president.
Of course.
Right.
Plus, you've got David Gergen, Henry Kissinger, Caspar Weinberger, former head of the CIA, Dick Cheney, Malcolm Forbes, Forbes magazine, Colin Powell, Helmut Schmidt, who actually one of the great sources of this Grove research is Helmut Schmidt's autobiography, where he talks about this stuff.
He spills the beans a little bit as a prime minister of Germany.
Yep, the Bechtels of Bechtel Corporation, James Baker, Jerry Cole, on the Rockefellers. It just goes on and on and on.
Walter Cronkite,
William Randolph Hearst, Jack Howard, Charles Scripps of Scripps Howard newspapers.
Yeah,
it's pretty heavy. It gets when you start seeing
Tony Blair. Do you ever go there?
I don't know. That would be a good one to research. I'll check him out.
Yeah,
I'll check it out. So it's like, gosh, what are all these people doing? Sort of meeting behind closed doors.
It's like a summer youth camp in the middle of the summer, out in the woods of Monte Rio, California, out in the redwoods, and the world's most powerful people are out frolicking in the woods.
Yes, which I guess wouldn't be so bad, except that they are elected officials, obviously, and there's some pretty dark undercurrents that come about. It's it's weird.
Let's jump right into that, if you don't mind.
Okay.
The group, if those of you who are listening are not familiar with this is the first time you heard about it, is most famous for some bizarre pageant that they hold each year called the Cremation of Care.
Yes.
Can you explain this bizarre ritual for those who've never heard of it, and what evidence do we have it's for real? Okay,
well, the Cremation of Care. The Cremation of Care appears to be most, if not all, the people there don robes and basically are involved in some way, either watching or actively involved in mock human sacrifice, basically, in front of a large stone owl.
Now, don't lose us here. Don't turn the channel here. We're not going off the deep end.
Well, don't worry. I'll give you some documented sources here in a few minutes. You can look.
You can go watch it.
You can go watch the video. Why don't I do this? Well, I'll talk about. Here's the documentation. Go to YouTube. Type in Bohemian Grove Exposed, and up will come a multi-part documentary. Wherein somebody smuggled a camera in and recorded it. And there's 34 minutes of this video wherein they worship a giant stone owl wearing robes.
We're talking like, 30, 40-foot owl?
40-foot owl, yeah.
Okay. And these people come in with torches and robes carrying something that looks like a sacrifice, human kind of sacrifice.
Yes.
In front of a lake, and all of these world leaders... It's been documented, are there watching this bizarre ritual.
In fact, if you want to do this, you can type in www.youtube.com and then /watch V = S7D3WT3VQA8. And that is the link directly to this video.
I'm sure everybody got that.
Well, they can go to the site and download it.
Yeah.
You can go to Future Quake and download it.
But if you also go to YouTube, you'll be able to find it. You'll actually see this crazy ritual ongoing.
It's nuts. It blew my mind.
And these are world leaders who normally would be making decisions that affect each of our yours and mine and all of our listeners' fate.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, we'd see them out in the public or somewhere where it'd be recorded in the halls of Congress or something like what they're doing. But they're in some sequestered place where we can't hear what they do,
Supposedly,
what they talk about, anything they may decide or agree or get in little clubs. They all live in little lodges. Is that right?
They all live in little lodges there. They have, it seems to me to be at least 40 or 50 different little clubhouses where it's a little bit like summer camp. Everybody gets together. There's all bunks and all that stuff, and they have different names. Except the names of these clubs are a little weird, like the Fallen Angels, the Postmortems.
Okay.
It's a little weird.
Now we have Democrats and Republicans who normally yell and point fingers at each other, are putting their arms around each other, and sort of laughing it off there.
Yes. While they wear red and black robes.
So they pretend to be bitter enemies in front of all of us face to face.
Yes.
But then they get all cozy behind closed doors. What other strange activities have been documented going on at this place?
I've seen the video, and as I'll foreshadow a little bit, I've even driven to the front gate of this place, and I even know somebody who's been in. I know two people who've been inside, and I still feel weird saying this, but it appears that a lot of our world leaders engage in they drink a lot, they get crazy, there's rumors of homosexual activity, rampant homosexual activity.
Nixon himself referred to the homosexual activity ongoing, right?
Yes, he did. And here is that YouTube link.
Okay.
If you don't believe me, as evidence to support the homosexual aspects of the Bohemian Grove, here's President Nixon discussing the rampant homosexuality that goes on at the 2-week-long event, rather. Go to YouTube. It's www.youtube.com/watch?V=DPB-PN9F2PC and feature =related. All right, so
is there a keyword that
I was going to say, or you could just type Nixon Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, that should get
and that should get you there.
Yeah. Okay, so something that defies the imagination is going on in front of our noses. This incredible behavior that's going on, decisions being made, all sorts of things that are happening with these bizarre rituals. Does this shed any light on the thinking of elite individuals who keep the reins of power?
Well,
and who selectively provide the resources to underwrite a new generation of elite members that they pre-select to come to this meeting?
No, of course not. This is all very normal behavior.
And how do they view ourselves?
Well, it's obviously a tremendous breach of trust on several levels, one of which is they're elected officials, meaning they should work for us. And here they are meeting behind closed doors, making, back alley deals, so to speak. Setting policy behind closed doors away from public scrutiny.
Now, David Gergen, who was a top advisor, cabinet advisor for Clinton, and I think even helped Bush, was confronted by Alex Jones on air, actually had a camera running, asked him about going to Bohemian Grove. He said that he did, but he got very, very incensed when Alex Jones mentioned that he'd smuggled himself in there, and he cussed him out.
Yeah.
He says, well, shouldn't the public know what you all are doing behind closed doors? And he said, it's none of their blank business.
Yeah.
Talking about that we know what they and the other powerful elite do.
Well, that leads us to a Rockefeller quote, who, by the way, is on the 2008 guest list.
Okay, good, because we're coming here to the end, so tell us what this is.
David Rockefeller said, We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subject to the bright lights of publicity during these years. But the world is now more sophisticated and prepared to march toward a world government which will never again know war but only peace and prosperity for the whole humanity. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national autodetermination practiced in the past centuries. It is also our duty to inform the press of our convictions as to the historic future of the century.